Hey everyone, welcome to MT Guitar. Hope you're doing well. Well, this is going to be one of the last videos in this location. I've been here for about 4 years living here and working here, and it's time to move on, and I've been putting off packing up the home studio, packing everything else up in the meantime, and it's about time that I start packing this up as well. I just want to give huge thanks to this studio and to this place that I've lived in. And I wanted to throw out a couple videos before I pack it up. This one's going to be basically some words of wisdom. Before I get to that though, just a quick couple points on things I've done here. For 4 years, this is the first job I had after grad school, so I got my doctorate of music at USC, where I was a TA as well for 3.5 years. So I was kind of teaching college level already at grad school, but then I moved here to basically begin teaching at a community college here, Front Range Community College. And I taught classes in production, recording, songwriting, and history of jazz. And then also I was the private guitar teacher. So that was amazing, an amazing experience, and really good for my resume, of course, but just a great time with the students here, and I really learned a lot as a teacher. And this is also where I, of course, started my online teaching business here with the YouTube and the Patreon, as well as one-on-one lessons online. I also played in about 5 or 6 bands out here, mostly guitar. I played bass in one band, and that was incredible. Really good music scene out here in Fort Collins. I also recorded my 3rd studio solo album, and I did that at a local studio here with my trio. So as we all know, in times of transition, it can oftentimes give you a moment of pause, of reflection, contemplation even. And I was thinking about the channel last night and thinking, what would I love to share with the channel, with the audience here. I'm very grateful for my supporters and my audience. You all keep me motivated and going and feeling like I'm on the right path doing what I love to do, which is share the gift and joy of music to others and help others in that journey. And I was thinking, what's something I can do before I break this all down? What came to mind was this idea that the music within you can be connected to your instrument, and to basically find the music within you through maybe improvising or exploring, getting lost. This can be a bit difficult to articulate and to maybe communicate, but I was very lucky in terms of, when I decided to go to music school to become a teacher. But I had already decided when I was 18, 19, 20 that I wasn't really going to take school that seriously. I'm not recommending that, but I wanted to be a professional musician. And so I started gigging at the age of 19, and I did it pretty regularly in several bands, including an original band where I wrote the music and sang from age 19 to, about 25 or so. And I went to junior college for 2 or 3 years, but didn't really take it seriously and kind of just did the gigging thing and then had jobs on the side. So I went to music school in my mid-20s, and I will say that I felt very secure in knowing my own musical voice, my own musical style. And I would look at some of the younger players and I would say, well, I hope that they keep their voice within, because they were barely discovering it, and now they were being inundated with a lot of information. And the danger of music school is that if you don't have that voice as a high priority, then it can really get overshadowed very quickly. I wasn't worried about that for me, like I said, because I had already written an album. I'd already written an album for another band, and I'd messed around a lot. I'd gigged a lot. I had learned a lot, right? And it's not like I learned it all on my own. I learned it from teachers. I learned it from friends, etc. But I basically wasn't too worried. So point is I was lucky, because I feel like no matter how much schooling I was going to get, I was still going to keep that voice alive. So how do you cultivate that voice? I think what you got to start doing is balancing out learning, guitar parts that are already written, that are already recorded, with creating your own. And I'm not talking about recording your own necessarily, although that's great too, or writing songs necessarily, although that's great too. But I'm really talking about just messing around with what you know and finding your own musical expression. Now you may say, well, I don't have that yet. Well, that may be true on the guitar, but I don't think that's true necessarily in general, because I think we've all got rhythm. We've all got a sense of melody. We've all got a sense of harmony in some way. If you didn't, you probably wouldn't have been drawn to the guitar. If you can hear a rhythm in your mind, if you can hear a melody or hear, some sort of a groove or song, then you've got music within you. I was always fascinated with music long before I played guitar. I was always fascinated with all these sounds, and I would hear sounds in my head. And playing guitar took a long time for me to connect those two things, that music within me, to the instrument. So you can go along that path of basically understanding, how do I make music on the guitar? Well, this is why the blues is a great start. You play the 12-bar blues and you start messing around in minor pentatonic, and you don't need much theory for that, okay? And it's an incredibly expressive art form. So this isn't meant as a blues lesson, but I'll put a link to my blues playlist below if this is inspiring you. But just learning a few seventh chords and kind of messing around with the E minor open pentatonic. Let's say, if you're new to the blues. So the point is that anyone can learn this scale at any level, even beginner. And anyone can learn these three chords. They're not bar chords, right? So that would be an example of the blues is a form. It's not a song, right? The blues, there are blues songs, but the blues form is a form. You can create over it. This is true for every chord progression, every scale. They're all forms, right? And with forms you can play around. Like, let's say I play the whole G scale. I can make music with this by switching directions, by repeating notes. By combining strings. By changing to another chord and going back to the scale. So point is that I'm just following where my voice inside is taking me. I'll just share with you a sort of a thought I've had, is that getting lost is something I miss. Obviously nothing bad's gonna happen besides you hit a wrong note. But there was a feeling of, gosh, where the heck am I? And maybe slight frustration, like I wish I knew where I was. But again, that made me sort of energized and want to learn where I was and figure it out. If I'm just trying to make a melody that makes sense, right there, or whatever. And I think I've talked to other pros and stuff, and we all kind of miss that sense of innocence. Now we're really good at knowing where we are, right? And almost to the point where we miss being lost. So enjoy being lost and figuring out, your ear knows what it wants to hear a lot of times. So maybe you're messing around with chords and trying to write a cool progression to jam over or just to play, and you can't find that chord. Sink into that process and be okay with not finding it for a bit, but keep at it and exploring, and let that frustration kind of drive you forward. So it's sort of a balance between learning vocabulary, learning songs, learning recordings, learning riffs, learning whatever, right? And then also making your own and figuring out what you like to hear. If I just start with any chord, can I figure out the next chord that might sound good? Okay, I've got a B minor here. So I might experiment with chords. Maybe I'll go to E major. It's pretty cool. I could try something else. Let's try something. I know it's not going to sound as good as I'd hope. A minor, I don't like that right away, although I can make that work. But let's say I want to change that. Maybe I'll go to A major instead. It's a little more, the ear can accept that a little easier. So maybe I loop that, and now I say I'm going to work my B minor scale. And then eventually, if I get bored with that, I can figure out how do I address the A chord. I go to an A Mixolydian scale. Back to B minor. So now I'm not relying on a song or even a technique or exercise. I just found two chords that sound good together. I might use technology to help me, right? I might record that. I might loop it. I might even find a B minor backing track, whatever, and just say, but that goes away from creating the music yourself. I would just create the music yourself, loop it, record it, and then play a B minor scale over it. And in this way, now you'll never run out of things to do. You can just constantly improve it doesn't have to be like, what's the next song to learn? What's the next lick? Just make your own. So those are some words of wisdom. I hope this made sense. I can't wait to do more lessons on this type of topic. I'm going to be creating some backing tracks, some study guides, some exercises. But do check out the Patreon for all those things that I post there. And it's a great place to, try some of this stuff out. You can try some of my study guides there. And I truly hope to see you in the next videos here. It's been a great time here. And I thank you, studio and house here where I've been living and working. And I wish you best of luck in finding the music within, connecting the music within to the guitar and to your voice and all the above. All right. Looking forward to seeing you next lesson. Bye.